How's everyone's bill going? My name is Andrew McGregor. I'm the MC of this room on and off, so anything you need, let me know. And it's my wonderful honor to present Eric Shuss to you. I believe I pronounced your name correctly, and he's going to show us fantastic things you didn't know existed, but they do, and he makes them. So, big round of applause.
Thank you, everybody. So my name is Eric Shuss, and I'm with several different robotics and artificial intelligence companies. And so we can talk a lot about that. I'll show some things just real quick. But the real talk is kind of about Southern California and what's happened over the last 23 years here, and how do we change that. So I'm going to go there. So in my opinion, the robots are here. 2014, 2015, I kind of consider this a year of the robot. This is the first time after I've been waiting 30 years for these technologies to all coalesce and come together. To be able to, have autonomous intelligent devices is really what they're creating, and these are all just different vessels to have artificial intelligence and intelligent devices. So kind of, everything from the top. You've got the drones. Many of you may have a Roomba. You've got the big dog. The Boston Dynamics guy building those robots that have military uses and industrial uses. Jibo, if you've seen the Jibo, which was a very successful Kickstarter for a home robot. That would sit in the kitchen and be able to be an assistant in a family, kind of a family robot. And then you've got the different ones, the Audubons, the Peppers. Those cute little things that look like little seals, white seals that have very therapeutic effects for people. And then different levels of helper robots and humanoid robots. And this is actually where I am very much involved in. So if you want to talk about humanoid robots and the ability to have expressive robots, that's kind of my passion. But to me, we've been waiting for a long time for this to come, and I think the hardware and the mechanical engineering and everything is really coming together where we're creating devices that are extremely useful. So the robots are here, and they're getting smarter. By the way, that's Hanson Robotics Albert Einstein head. So that is a fully expressive head. Happened to be, in this case, put on one of the Japanese robot bodies, but we're actually building full humanoid androids with facial expression. And they're getting smarter because of the artificial intelligence. And there's many forms of artificial intelligence, and then artificial general intelligence. And that's kind of also where I'm focusing, is artificial general intelligence, to really create thinking, learning machines. Because I feel that they're going to be enhancing our intelligence, they're going to be helping us, they're going to be able to supplement our own intelligences. And many people are afraid of the singularity, many people are afraid of where artificial intelligence is going. I'm not. I think we are going to evolve along with the artificial intelligence. We're going to be able to take advantage of that artificial intelligence. And it's also extremely important on how we develop the artificial intelligence. For some of our groups, we actually, on the AGI side, we actually make sure we start all of the logic based upon these top-level motivations. So to be liked, to survive, to be respected, to help mankind, etc. Our top-level motivations that drive all the other logic and emotions and responses and everything. And as long as there's some that believe we have to build empathy into robots and artificial intelligence, or at some point it does all go horribly awry. They're getting much smarter. They are getting much more intelligent. But our fears, oh no! And if you've seen South Park, they took our jobs. They took our jobs. Everybody's afraid, of course, that robots are going to.
You're not pronouncing it right.
They took our jobs. They took our jobs. So a good meme from South Park, of course. And they're going to, of course, destroy mankind.
Have you heard of megabots? Yeah. There you go.
To me, I've been watching, this evolution for so long, and let me go back here. So one of the things about why I get, with robots, what are robots going to do? People are really afraid of a lot of this, but robots are going to do the jobs that are too hard. So we're going to be able to put robots in places that are not just too physically difficult. Oil field workers, mining, all those things. Let's get people out of those. There's no reason to be risking people's lives to do these things that we can create artificial beings that can do these. But also emotionally hard. I mean, hospice work is incredibly difficult. To take care of someone as they're passing is an incredibly difficult thing. But if you can do it in a way that you have an emotive, a caring, an empathetic android, that is so important. I mean, if you think about the people in the Ebola camps recently, they're having to talk to a person in a giant spacesuit. They have no contact. We can take one of our robots, have it there, fully expressive, emotive, and be able to give that emotional response that only a humanoid face gives. If you look at the research, we have tied back to the lizard brain of how we interact. If I put someone on the screen and they smile, humans, we don't have a natural response. If I pick one of our robots and it smiles, you will smile back at it because it goes right back here to the back of the screen. And that's true with empathy, and that's true with so many other things that robots will need to have. So there are jobs that robots are going to be that are too hard, physically, but also emotionally. Robot, again, they're going to do the ones that are too dangerous, so that's going to be good. I mean, spaceflight. We want to send somebody out. You want to send a you want to put a person to go to Mars. Let's first load up a spaceship full of humanoid androids that can actually function in the spaceship, be able to simulate all things, really doing it. You can have remote presence and the like for people to go there. But let's first do that before we start putting people into those. We're also working a lot with artificial intelligence to do scientific research. So being able to look across incredible data sets that no human can comprehend and be able to come up with new formulations. I actually went through a clinical trial on an anti-inflammatory that artificial intelligence discovered. It formulated the hypotheses, we came up with the formulation, and it was very effective anti-inflammatory. And we were able to look across all the known FDA compounds, the Chinese herb databases, how it works on flies, mice, and be able to do things that you just can't do as an individual, individual researchers. But an artificial intelligence scientist can begin to see connections that no person can. So the ability to work in aging, I mean, Maria just gave a talk on aging. I've got a project going right now for a company, and that's the goal. We've got our AI sitting there. It's been working for 11 months, just trying to figure out aging. Going through those same Chinese databases, FDA compounds and all that, just trying to come up and see if there are any connections that hasn't been found by standard research today, by letting our AI just scatter across it and run with it. So if we do this right, we can move to this concept of an abundance mentality. Because I know about you guys, I'm old. I started selling the very first computer. I had one of the first computer stores here in Southern California. And I started selling PCs. When we brought PCs and we had our first PC store, people were saying, oh, you're going to take all the jobs. Computers are going to do all the jobs. All the office workers are going to get laid off. All the office workers are going to get fired. What did we create? The IT industry. The internet, database guys, web designers, all these things that didn't exist when you had monolithic mainframe computers where you might have a team that ran that. As soon as we put PCs out, we didn't get rid of office workers. We made them slightly more efficient, kind of. There was a great old study that in like 1950s to write a letter took 45 minutes because an executive would dictate a letter to his administrative assistant. She would take it back, she'd type a draft, and bring it back into him, he'd go through it again, and it would go back 3 or 4 times, and it took 45 minutes. Then they did it again, they did it like in the 90s, and it took about 45 minutes for an executive to write a letter, because he wrote it himself, and he did so many revisions, and basically came up with no productivity gain over all that time. So I'm not worried about robots, because robots are going to create the next industries for the next 20 or 30 years. There's going to be jobs out there that no one's thinking about right now. Job titles that didn't exist. Because again, in 1980, if someone said you were a web developer, you had no idea what that meant. Same thing. But that you're some sort of evil spider monster. So the concept that robots are going to take jobs, there will be jobs that go away, but if we do this right, we'll come to this concept of abundance mentality where we don't have to work 40 hours a week. Why do we work 40 hours a week? What if we could not have to work 40 hours a week, but still have the same productivity of the overall group? We're able to spend more time on art and music and science and things that really matter. So let's let the robots take those other jobs. Let's make this a society that works, and we can make it better. And again, it's all till it goes horribly awry, because we all know that eventually Skynet, But tell them, really, it's really good. Tell them. So, boo-hoo, Silicon Valley, so last century. Please, they're just, I'm over it, old, there's nothing. So where is the next great tech hub? Because with all the competition, global competition, worldwide competition, things are changing. Where innovation is happening is changing. And how are we going to do this? Is, Hong Kong, Singapore, London, Tokyo, and Hyderabad, and so
New York.
New York. Thank you. Thank you. So where is the next 50 years of innovation going to be?
Here.
Well, why the hey you would? That is exactly correct. Thank you. So Southern California is it. To me, I was born and raised here. I was born and raised we had a machine shop. We were a tool and die company. Aerospace and defense was my family's business. That disappeared back about in the 90s. Actually, kind of funny, in the late 80s, what we did is someone would come to us and say, we need a new turbine design. Here's a new turbine design for the new jet engine. We would then create the molds to then make that jet engine and make prototypes and things like that. We, in the late 80s, saw this thing called stereolithography. Wow, it's really cool. You can scan something and just print it. We're like, oh heck, we're going to be out of business, this thing. And it's kind of funny because we're all like, 3D printing took forever because that's what stereolithography was. So in my family, we're like, oh, 3D printing's so cool. We're like, it's taking so long. But the problem is manufacturing. All manufacturing is left Southern California. They've been driven out. You can't run a business. It's very hard to run a business here. So my concept is to create the robo-coast. We had Silicon Valley last century. The new next 50 years is the robo-coast. Santa Barbara all the way down to San Diego is where the next tech evolution, because there's so many great reasons to do it.
Where do we sign up?
Well, I'll tell you. We'll tell you. The thing is the talent required for artificial intelligence robotics is extremely multidisciplinary. You have got to have hardware, software, combinations of art and science. There's so much to it that there's a reason Southern California is going to be able to do that.
How about somebody who studied ants and bees?
That's the kind of thing that's going to, and those are the kind of thinking we need to have input and interactive with this kind of innovation to really make a huge difference. We also have the infrastructure and supply chains. What we have is, because we've got the ports, we have the Port of LA and the Port of Long Beach, we have enormous, as you said, Los Angeles is incredibly spread out and diverse. As we begin getting self-driving cars, this core of our traffic issues are going to start to diminish and go away. We're going to be able to be a much more efficient supply chain as we grow. We've got amazing colleges and universities, the Caltechs, the USC, the UCLAs, and everybody wants to live here. Because why do I really want to do this? I don't want to move because the weather is far too nice and it's far too lovely of a place. So we can bring people from around the world to this hub. And we've got fantastic entrepreneurial support. There's like the founders group that Alex is a part of, and so many places where in LA that are burgeoning now, very much kind of like Silicon Valley of 10, 15 years ago, of how do we get the entrepreneurs, help them, and be able to be successful. And why now? Because we've lost our manufacturing. AR, as I said here before, very multidisciplinary. But we've got the movie industry. And the animatronics, if any of you know Hanson Robotics Company, we really took a lot from the movie industry, and that's actually who we work with to do these really great animatronics. The design, the body designs, we're looking at that. So we need movies, television, art, and science. Also, don't forget, a robot is simply a vessel for artificial intelligence. So we not only need the physical robot, I need the avatars. I need all the different variations, because this artificial intelligence isn't going to live just in the robot, they're going to be cloud-based. So if I have my personal assistant, she may be in a robot. I wake up in the morning, she's on my phone or in my home automation system. I get in my car, that same intelligence is there, and so it basically can just move from device to device. So it's a lot of art and beauty and all kinds of things that tie together here. Of course, we still have an aerospace and defense industry here. It's gotten smaller, but we can rebuild that. Very powerful, a lot of brilliant engineers, a lot of really powerful government connections, medical device manufacturers. The quality you need to build really good robots is extremely fine. You need some really excellent manufacturing ability. Medical device right now, 70% of the products manufactured in the United States right now are manufactured in California. So we've got a huge medical device community here of manufacturing. We can take some of that talent, because as we merge with the technology, as they cyborgs, we are going to need the medical device manufacturing and the pharma and healthcare companies. And as I said, healthcare is a big push for me for our robots. So what are our challenges? There's just a perception that California and Los Angeles are too hard to run a business. And then there's the fact that it is really incredibly difficult to try to run a business here in Los Angeles. For many years, I've had many companies that I've known that have just packed up and moved. You know, back 10 years ago, it was 35% more expensive to manufacture here in Los Angeles than back east. Then a few years later, it hits that tipping point, it's now over 50%. 50% more expensive to manufacture because of the regulations and all kinds of different issues that we have to fight. So we have to try to solve these problems. Investors love Silicon Valley companies. The vast majority. If you go up to Silicon Valley, you're on Sandhill Road, been there, done this. This is amazing. Love this. Where are you guys located? Los Angeles. Oh, never mind. So that's the truth. And so we need the political and business to make this happen. So there has to be momentum. There has to be not just an entrepreneurial will. There has to be makers, and we've got to get everybody else involved: politicians, business groups. So let's make it happen. Let's make Southern California the Robo Coast. Let's work together to promote that. People like Alex are fantastic at getting big ideas and spreading them. And that's what I want to do. So I want to create an organization called robocoast.org and do basically outreach, entrepreneurial support, political support, and make Southern California the Robo Coast. Thank you very much. Any questions?
We have time for 2 questions. And then I'm speaking.
Oh,
So basically, this should be in Silicon Valley.
no,
I mean,
absolutely
that's
not.
what you're.
No,
All the facts you've just listed
Yeah.
point to that.
No, Silicon Valley doesn't have the movie industry. Silicon Valley doesn't have the aerospace and defense. Silicon Valley doesn't have the medical device manufacturing. They don't have pharma.
You've got special effects in Silicon Valley. You've got,
No. That's, you're doing old thinking, young lady. So no, I completely disagree.
What about the drought down here? What about the?
We get our water from you guys. It doesn't affect us at all.
I mean,
Spoken like a true
people are
cyborg.
saying, in the next, you're talking about the next 50 years. We're looking the next 50 years. You want to move up to the northwest, right?
No, not at all. I love Southern California. I like being able to 350 days a year go outside and enjoy it.
But aren't you going to have that exactly moving north? You're going to have that in
Time
Silicon
for
Valley.
one more
San
question
Francisco.
on the schedule.
Then you're catastrophizing.
So what are your ideas for getting past the politics of the state? It is very hard on small businesses.
It is, and there are ways to do it, as you probably know. There are ways to make it happen. It's just going to take some political will, and it's going to take getting the politicians to know if they want tax revenue, they have to work with us to make it possible to do it. It's hard, but that's what we've got to do. It's got to be a political lobby.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate the presentation. I think I can fit into your landscape too.
Excellent.
Round of applause.